everybody. Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to the Most High Yah and His Son Yahusha. I hope that everyone, whatever time of the day it is, that you are having an indeed blessed day. And I want to send intentional shaloms your way. I'm doing this video because it's kind of a preference to me. The next video that I'm going to do, I didn't want to come with just a random video out the blue just months later after I haven't been on here. So I wanted to do this video before I did my next video to kind of give you guys a little bit of information as to what's been going on with me. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. And pretty much I was going through some changes with the Most High kind of giving me some understanding about some things that I did not have clear understanding on. And around the last couple of videos that I did, I started to feel like, I started to really second guess whether or not videos and whatever is something that I should be doing. And so I kind of pulled back from that. And if you remember, the first video that I did was actually about Pastor Darby, right around the time of his death, and me sending condolences to the family and his church members, and kind of talking about the impact that he had on my life, which indeed he very much did have an impact on my life. The reason why I'm doing this video today is it kind of a little bit pertains to Pastor Darby, but not in the way that you would understand it. Let me give a disclaimer before I continue. If you are a diehard Pastor Darby fan, don't worry, I'm not about to, just run all over him and his teachings, but just to talk a little bit about some of the changes that have happened in my life since I did my last video. So, basically, there were some things that I just was not sure about from the time I came into this walk up until around the time that I did my last video. And it's very, very key in this walk, the thing that I struggled with. And that was whether or not the law, statutes, and commandments were done away with, or whether or not we continue to keep them. I think it's crazy because I knew as a Christian, because I refined myself on YouTube arguing with atheists, defending Christian teachings or speakers or whatever. I will find myself in the comment section arguing with atheists who will use the justification of the laws and say, well, if you guys are Christians, then why does the Bible say to do X, Y, and Z, and y'all don't do it? And I recall actually saying to the people when I'm arguing, well, those were the laws were for the Jews. They're not for Christians. They're not for us. We're Gentiles. We're not Jews. That's for the Jews to do. And so, in hindsight, looking at that, it's like, Shamara, why wouldn't you even have that same frame of mind coming into this truth, realizing that you are a actual Hebrew Israelite. You are a descendant of the people of the book. And so I did struggle with that, and I think part of my struggle was my unwillingness and the difficulty with giving up some of those earthly things that I had grown so accustomed to. So I can't say the day or the hour, but the Ruach HaKodesh dropped something in my spirit. And I had listened to all these teachings with, these different point of views, and as far as, why the laws are done away with and why they're not done away with. And nothing could get me a peace of mind or a clear understanding better than this one question that the Ruach HaKodesh dropped into my spirit. And he said, if the laws are done away with, then why are men still suffering the consequences of breaking the laws? When I heard that, it wasn't an audible hearing. It was, I can't really explain it if it was a audible hearing. I guess some, not necessarily audible, but it's like I heard the words. Like, if if the laws are done away with, then why are men still suffering the consequences of breaking them? And it was like, whoo, like blew my mind. And I was like, well, there it is. There it is. And that was my confirmation, and that's all it took. And so one thing that I did not do that every person coming to this truth should do, I did not go back and read Torah, like full on, just go back and read through Torah. When I came into this truth, I pretty much just focused on Deuteronomy, and then I went into the prophets, but I did not read Torah. So I still held to some of those Christian teachings and learnings that I had grown accustomed to, or that I had learned growing up in the church. And so when I started to read back through it, what understanding that I came to about it was basically that the laws were not a burden, like the church makes it seem like. They're not a burden. When you read them, you understand that the Most High, with our understanding, with the knowledge that we have today, I don't know if anybody else, unless you just don't want to see it. All the Most High was doing was trying to protect his people, was trying to maintain peace, and was trying to keep his people holy. That's it. And I don't see anything wrong with it. When I went back and I read it, for instance, the last time I did a video, I for sure definitely was not keeping the dietary laws. I was still eating my seafood. I was still eating bacon. Nothing changed as far as the dietary laws. When I began to read and understand what the clean and unclean animals were, and doing research on those animals and finding out these are the animals that clean up the earth, that these are the animals, these are like the garbage disposals of the world. Like, this is what the Most High created to keep his earth clean, to keep the oceans clean, to keep the land clean. This is what the Most High created these animals for. Because the difference between the clean and the unclean is what they take in, what they eat. And there was a video I saw during this time. It was on another YouTuber's page. I think her name is Shayla, the Judean. I think it changed now to just Miss Shayla or something like that, but it used to be Shayla Judean, something like that. She posted this video. It looked like, in the background, looked like a landfill or something, like a dump. And there was pigs, or it was maybe 2 or 3 pigs, and they were eating a dead body. Now, first and foremost, I don't even know how they got access to a dead body. That is a little weird in itself, that somebody's sitting there filming it. I don't know if their body was dumped, but all I know is these pigs were tearing into this dead body. I mean, like it was steak, like it was Thanksgiving, It was like they were going hard. I was so disgusted. Now, at this point, I was already on the point where I'm trying to make my transition to the point where I'm following the dietary laws. But when I saw those pigs eating that body, I've heard it before, but that was my my smack in the face. Like, they really will eat anything. Pigs really will eat anything. And then coming to a more of a detailed understanding about the anatomy of the pigs is that they don't have very many sweat glands. So whatever they eat, the toxins stay inside their body. So you think you cooking it, you think because you cooking it at 300, 400 degrees, you're killing all the toxins. No, you're not. Your body is still ingesting all these toxins that are in these, and that's specifically, definitely, especially in the pig. I was like, I was done. I showed it to my husband. He was like, we done. We done with the pig. And then other laws, for instance, like I recall reading about basically where if there's like mold in the house and you know you have the priest to come examine it, you kind of excavate it, get that out, whatever mold you can see, you get it out. Then a few days later, you have certain amount of days later, you have the priest come back, take a look at it again. If the mold has not spread, it's okay. You can go ahead and whatever. I guess they plaster it over or something and keep it moving. But if the mold continues to spread beyond that, I think they did it one more time, or either just tear the house down. And it's because the people back then did not understand or have an awareness of bacteria and viruses. They didn't just come into existence in the 19th century. They've always been in existence. And the Most High knew this. So that's why when the priests would do their sacrifices, because they were cutting into animals and blood and all that, he would tell them to go wash yourself. After you do this, go wash yourself. Go wash yourself. It was, and you pretty much were unclean to the evening. It was always wash yourself, you're unclean to the evening. It was to protect his people. If somebody had a breakout of sores or leprosy or whatever, the leprosy was just considered unclean. Not sure about the background on the leprosy, but definitely if there were sores that a person had that what we would recognize today as an infection, that person was pretty much put outside of the camp, and um, they would be examined by the priest, and it would be determined whether or not that infection had grown or whether that infection had stopped. If that infection stopped, then they would stay outside the camp for another how many ever days, wash themselves, come back, and join the community. But it's it's the same thing that they do today in hospitals and nursing homes. If a person is sick and they have an infectious disease that could easily spread to other people, they are put on contact isolation, where the people, the medical staff that's treating them, they have to glove up, they have to gown up, they have to put on face masks in order to go in and treat this person, as so that they themselves don't get sick, but they're kept on isolation so that whatever infection or whatever's going on with them doesn't spread to the other people. So the Most High was ahead of his time, definitely, and he taught these things to his people. That's why when you hear historical accounts of the Moors and who I know now to be what they called the Black Jews, going up into Europe during the times when blacks ruled in Europe, you have to understand these people were living in squalor. The Caucasians at that point in time, they were living in squalor. And the Moors and the Jews had to go up there and teach them that you cannot keep your animals inside the house where you lay your head, because animals are going to poop and pee everywhere, and then bacteria is in that poop and that pee, and there you go, you got diseases. That's why they had stuff like the I can never say this right, but the bubonic plague, um, all these diseases that will wipe out millions of people because they did not understand sanitation. But the Most High had given sanitation laws to his people. So these laws, and that's just a couple examples, these laws that the Most High had given to his people were to protect them, was to maintain order, was to keep his people holy and set apart. So people kind of sometimes look at the Old Testament and look at the Most High as this tyrannical, evil being that was hell bent on killing everybody. Just look around our society today. The things that the Most High would not tolerate, namely sexual sin, was not tolerated. Adultery, homosexuality, fornication was not tolerated. If you were caught in it, you were stoned. And into today's world, if you did if that was to happen to somebody for cheating on their husband or cheating on their wife, most people will feel like, oh, that's just like, that's too much, that's overkill. But the Most High knew that if you don't show a certain level of consequence for actions, that people are going to feel it's going to give them just a little bit of space to feel like it's okay to do it, and then that spreads and corrupts. Like I said, look at our society today. We are so accommodating and so um, dismissive of things that even growing up, even for people who still call themselves Christians, knowing that reading this book where it says specifically that these things are wrong, will still say, well, we all sin and we all got something and God knows my heart. So I said that to say there are some, because people who come against the law will always say, well, you're not keeping all the law. Well, of course we're not keeping all the law. If you actually read and understood, we cannot keep the law, the full, to the full set of laws that the Most High gave. First of all, everybody in Israel was not responsible for doing all the laws. They weren't. Some laws were just for men. Some laws only applied to the priests. But there were certain laws that, yes, everybody had to follow. And being that we are not in our land, we are in the land of our captivity, we cannot just go and stone somebody because they were caught in a homosexual act. Because guess what? You're going to go to jail for murder. And nobody's going to get you out. You're thinking, oh, I'm doing God a service by doing this. We can't do that. So that is a prime example of why we cannot keep all the laws. It's just not possible, because some of these laws are meant to be kept in our own land. There are some laws that, like I said, just apply to the Levitical priests. Well, we don't even know who Levite is, because we are so spread out, because we are so mixed up. Now, granted, some of the tribes in Africa know exactly who they are, but that full knowledge has not been given to us yet, so we don't know. Part of Levi and Benjamin was in Judah, and they came out with us, and so they were scattered to the four corners along with us. So we don't know. I don't know if I'm Judah. I don't know if everybody wants to be Judah, but I don't know if I'm Judah. I don't know if I'm Benjamin. I don't know if I'm from Levi. I don't know. So until Yahushua returns and sets everything straight, there's just some things that we just won't know, and there are some laws that we just possibly cannot keep. So I say all that to say, what I understood, what the revelation that I came to about Pastor Darby, and him being a catalyst in my awakening, and the awakening of many people. If you go and check Pastor Darby's page, his YouTube channel, I believe around the time when he died, he had like 30,000 followers. And as of today, he's like over, I think, 102,000 plus, maybe at this point. So it seemed like even since his death, Pastor Darby's ministry has is still impacting people. So all praise to the Most High, because he's using Pastor Darby. Even in death, he's still using Pastor Darby to awaken his children. The revelation that I came to about Pastor Darby is that Pastor Darby is a stepping stone into this truth. And that's exactly what he was for me. Not to say that I step over Pastor Darby, because when they release the new videos, I will still go watch them. I just know that Pastor Darby was a proponent of the laws are done away with. And had I kept that same frame of mind, I wouldn't have come into a full understanding of realizing they are not completely done away with. Yes, we are given grace. We are given grace. But grace does not mean that we don't keep the law. Because what is the grace for? Grace has to be attached to something. Grace is attached to breaking the law. That's sin. People say, I mean, we coming up in the Christian church, we would say sin, but we didn't truly know what sin was. I think a lot of us believe that the only thing we had to do was keep the Ten Commandments. That's all we knew. We kept the Ten Commandments, even though homosexuality was not even mentioned in there. We grew up knowing that it was wrong. So I just understood that coming into this truth is already shocking when you when you hit that point where you realize this is true. It is a shock to you because you've grown up all these years and you realize how long our people have been in this country. And this past Tuesday, according to some historians, marked the 400th year of our people being in the land of our captivity. And so there are just some things that are some people who don't have that talent, don't have that gift, don't have that anointing to be able to draw people in the way Pastor Darby does or did and does, still doing. Um, but everybody will not accept this truth coming from, let's say for instance, coming from camps, coming from like, these camps out here, IUIC and GMS, and because a lot of them are really hardcore. And a lot of times they will, unless you have a certain mindset already, a lot of times the way that they deliver the message will actually turn you off from not even wanting to receive the truth. So Pastor Darby is that buffer. He's like that Christian. Uh, he makes you comfortable to listen enough to him to get that information and to open your eyes. And I appreciate and I thank Pastor Darby and his ministry for that. I'm not going to dig on him and just say that, oh, he's wrong. And, I've heard some horrible things said about, the way he taught. Not necessarily the way he taught, but what he taught about this awakening. And I can't go in on Pastor Darby because I understand for me it was not just one day I just woke up and I had it all together. This has been a transition. It has been stages for me from the time that I actually accepted it up until today. And it wasn't easy to let go of the things that I've had to let go, but it's worth it. If I know that my life is going to be, if I know that first and foremost that I want my life to be pleasing to the Most High, then there are just those things that I have to let go. And I'm not done. I'm not perfect. I'm still a work in progress. And I thank the Most High and the Ruach HaKodesh for continuing to work on me, to continuing to show me me. See, instead of worrying about other people and what they need to do and what their flaws are, look in the mirror and check yourself. And I'm thankful to the Most High for allowing me to see myself and stop and not worry about nobody else and what's going on with them, to worry about me and what things I need to fix within myself. So with that being said, just wanted to give you guys an update. That's why I had to take a hiatus. There were some things I had to work out in my mind. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more consistent with my videos, but I have a really good video coming up. It's relevant to the 400 years, and so I hope you tune in to, well, not tune in like a TV show or something. But I hope you take a moment to watch the video that's coming up. And so with that being said, y'all have a blessed day and shalom.